Welcome to the Unicorn Connector Show, where we talk about relationships, revenue, and referrals. We'll dig into opportunities for people to generate revenue by making referrals from the relationships they establish. We'll also cover tips to grow your network, leverage it, and get paid residual income for life. I'm excited for today's episode because we're going to talk about 10 different ways that you can really maximize the results that you get by being a connector, how you can go about it, and why. Now, this is actually the first of a 10-part series that we're going to dig into over time, but today I just want to give you all of the tips, short and simple, and you can expand on those tips yourself and what you think they mean. So I think it's really important that you understand that this is not something that came inherently for myself. I used to really struggle meeting new people. It was absolutely uncomfortable for me. As somebody who was in operations and tech development for financial advisors, I was heavily focused on myself by getting rid of people who didn't bring me up. So I made a change and I started bringing the right people around me and people that were really supportive of my mission and my vision and my values, and ultimately helped me understand how to be a better connector. And that's how I got here today. So it's not something that comes second nature to me initially, but now I absolutely love it and I'm great at it. Establishing relationships is one of the most important things you can do for yourself in your personal, professional, and business growth. Did you know that well-connected people tend to live longer than those who spend their lives in solidarity? If you don't believe me, I want you to look into a TEDx talk by Susan Pinker, who talks about the secret to living longer and that it's actually related to your social life. It's at the top of the charts when she did a very in-depth analysis about why some of the people that lived to be some of the oldest ages known to man actually lived that long. And ultimately, it comes down to having a better social life, having that social integration that really promotes a longer life, and being surrounded by people that are great people, that are in the community that you want to be a part of, that are there regularly to support you, do business with you, and ultimately spend time with you, can actually improve your odds of a happier, healthier, and longer life. So, without further ado, let's dig into the 10 tips. So, let's say you're going to a networking event and you go up to somebody new and you introduce yourself. You say, "Hello, my name is Bob. It's nice to meet you." This is your chance. Don't think about anything other than what they say when they say, "My name is." You need to pay attention to this. What is their name? Don't worry about what they do. Expand on that, but make sure you hear their name and then repeat it back to them. If you just hear their name and think about what you're trying to say next, you're going to miss it. And it's crazy to think that you really only have that one chance to hear somebody's name and understand that that's who they are. Now, a little tip is to repeat it back to them. You've probably heard this before, but when you repeat somebody's name back to them, you're much more likely to remember it. And they appreciate it. People like to hear their name again, so repeat it back to them. Let's say they say, "You can call me Bob or Bobby or Robert, whatever you want." I strongly recommend that you ask them what they prefer. Have them say it again, then say it back to them. Again, the more times you can do this, the better. Now, you've got to introduce yourself. That's all this comes down to. On average, nowadays, you really only have about 7 seconds to grab someone's attention and make that first impression. So give them a great first impression. Smile, look at them in the eyes, say hello, and introduce yourself. Ask them for their name, again, if you haven't already asked them, but make sure that you give them a very warm introduction. Now, let's get the conversation going. So, you're at this event, you are trying to learn about this person, you already know their name, you've said it a few times already, you might have even had a whole conversation with this person just about their name, but you need to learn more. Show them some curiosity. Show them that you are genuinely interested in what they say and who they are. because the most interesting people are the ones who are the most interested in what you do. So ask for more information about what they said. Repeat what they say back to them as a question. You'd be surprised at how impactful this can be. When somebody says something and you repeat it back to them, they might just say the same thing again, but they might really expand and go deeper into whatever it is that they just told you. You might hit a passion point of theirs and get them to really just go off about what it is that they were saying. Some things you can say is, okay, that's interesting. It seems like you really love living here. Or, that's awesome. It sounds like you're very passionate about yada, yada, yada. Or, you must really like this. So, latch on to some common interests that you find and expand on those too. By repeating the things that they said to you, you might be able to find more common interests. So make sure that you dig into it. You really don't know what you don't know. And if you go too far into something that is a common interest of yours, but they're really not all that interested, move on. Just keep talking. Have a natural conversation. And this brings me to the fourth point. This is about being authentic. Being authentic is critical to connecting, because if you try to present yourself in a way that is not genuine, not really yourself, inauthentic, people will smell right through it. They won't appreciate it, and they're going to want to be moving to the next conversation. So be yourself. Let go. Have a good time. And don't try to put on some facade. Don't try to be pushing your product. Don't try to script your conversation. Just enjoy it. Get to know this person. Understand who they are and why they are there and why you're there. You are both there. And that alone is a common enough thing to be yourself and have a natural conversation without some other hidden agenda. This brings me to point number 5. So you're at this event. So often these events can be a drag, but that's up to you. You need to know how to have fun. So point 5 is have fun. Go to these events, be yourself, let go, have a good time, and enjoy it. Do your thing. Talk about the things you're passionate about. Don't worry about, what somebody might think about this, that, or the other thing. Just enjoy the event. Enjoy meeting other people. If you're anxious or nervous or worried about what other people will think, you're probably going at it with the wrong attitude. And if you just go at it to have fun and meet new people and don't worry about selling your product, you're going to have a better time. So have fun with it. Now, you've met the person. You hit it off, and it's time to exchange information. Yikes. So this can be a very uncomfortable part of the conversation, but you're not going to get anywhere as a connector if you don't nurture that relationship. So you got to exchange information and make sure that you continue that conversation later on. So how do you do this? What's the best way to do that? Well, there are all sorts of ways, but as long as you're going at it with the right attitude, you're being authentic, and you're just having a good time to genuinely meet new people, you shouldn't have a problem with it. If you hit it off with somebody, you should exchange information. That's the least you could do. So exchange that information. However you do it, just make sure you do it. There are all sorts of different apps you can use. There are business cards you can hand out. I would recommend put yourself in their phone. They're so much more likely to answer it than a random phone call from a random person who probably has a different area code and ultimately who they just don't know. So I strongly recommend that you put your phone number in their phone, send them a text, and then follow up later. Which brings us to point number 7, follow up. The event's over, and you are tired. You met all sorts of wonderful people. Now it's time to go home, kick back, and watch some TV. No. Now it's game time. In fact, I hope you already sent these people a message when you got to your car, because the sooner you reach back out to people, the fresher you will be on their minds. So send them a video message, send them a picture message, a text, a voice message, an email, give them a call, leave a voicemail, whatever it is, send a message to them as quickly as possible. If you have the extra time, then go follow them on social media. Follow their company page. If you're on LinkedIn or a lot of the other social media platforms, I recommend LinkedIn at least. Ring their bell, which is a little button you hit on their profile that tells you, sends you a notification when they post, and you can engage with that post. They're going to love you for it. It's going to put your name in front of their face even more often and give you more opportunities to reconnect with them and deepen that relationship, because that's what this is all about. It's all about relationships. In business and the way the world is today, you're not trying to sell anything. You're not trying to make money off of these people, because if that's all you're trying to do, that's all anybody else is going to try to do to you. But if you focus on the relationship and supporting each other, then that's what's going to really make the difference. So that brings me to the 8th point, adding value, supporting people. Adding value to people when you meet them can be game changing, especially in your first introduction meeting. So you met them at the event. Now you're about to get on a call with them. Maybe you're going to go to a lunch. Maybe you're meeting them at another event. Whatever it might be, you're about to spend more time to go deeper into the conversation and see what you can do together. Honestly, by the end of that meeting, if you haven't done something to add value, it's kind of hard to ask for anything next. So make sure that you are looking for ways you can add value to this conversation. They can add value to their life in one way or another, be it professionally, personally, whatever it might be, add that value. How can you do that? There are all sorts of different ways you can do it. But some simple ways that you can add value to a new connection would include making another introduction, sending a resource to a piece of technology that might make their life a little easier, or an ebook, a podcast, an audiobook, something that they can learn that would help them grow, or even consider giving a piece of advice. Now, with this one, I strongly recommend that you don't just give unsolicited advice to somebody who did not ask for it or permit it. So make sure you ask for permission to give advice if it's something you feel strongly about and knowledgeable about that you think it would actually help them. Don't just go at it trying to give somebody advice. You're not a paid consultant at this point, so you shouldn't just be giving advice. So when you're wrapping up this conversation, if you've provided value, then make sure you set up a next meeting. You're not looking to sell somebody on this first call, and you're not looking to get something out of them. Just keep that relationship and keep it going. That's what it's all about when it comes to connecting. And by adding value and helping them out in one way or another, you're going to feel great doing it. So, point number 9, make connections. We're talking about being an excellent connector here. And if you are really showing somebody that you value making connections, then you want to make connections for them. So I'm talking figure out people that would be a beneficial introduction to make for them and just ask them point blank, hey, is there somebody I can introduce you to that would help you out in one way or another? It's important that you do this because it shows that you genuinely care about them and not just making a connection to sell them some sort of product or service. And this adds a ton of value by making that introduction. You as a connector have a duty and an obligation to make introductions that you think can actually help this person out. It's so important. You can make such a massive impact in somebody's life by making introductions to people that synergize with them in ways that are unbelievable. Additionally, when you connect people for the right reasons that have a similar mission and vision to make the world a better place, you can make that introduction and actually help make a positive change in the world. Whether it's something you're passionate about or not, it can make a huge difference. So make sure that you are genuinely making introductions that you think could benefit somebody's life, especially when you know somebody that can be an immediate help for what somebody's looking for. So, tip number 10. This is probably the most important tip about all of it. It goes right in line with following up, but ultimately, it's about staying in touch. You've had a couple conversations with this person. Maybe there's an opportunity to work together. Maybe there's not. Ultimately, just stay in touch with them. If you think that this is somebody that you could do work with down the road, or that you could help, or they could help you, or you just like them, then stay in touch with them. So often, we make all these connections, but then let them fall off the face of the earth, and that's not what it's all about. If you genuinely care about somebody, reach back out to them. Send them a message on occasion. We talked about ways you can follow up. Those are great ways to continue to be in somebody's mind, continue to stay in touch with them. So make sure that you do that, because if you don't, you're gonna lose that connection. You might go months without without talking to them. It could be years even. And the last thing you want is to be going back to somebody, reaching out to them just because you need something. They're going to smell that from a mile away, and they're going to not want to chat with you because they thought that you genuinely cared about the relationship. But if all you're there is to sell them something or to ask for something, then you obviously don't care about that relationship in a more personal way. Sometimes there isn't anything more to it than a personal relationship. So let it be that way. If you feel like somebody's a good person and you want them in your life, stay in touch with them. So that's it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed these 10 tips. I'm going to summarize them all just in single point format, go through the tips, and I want you to genuinely think about these the next time you're out connecting with people at an event. 1, memorize their name. 2, nail the introduction. 3, be curious to create connection and show interest. 4, be authentic. 5, have fun. 6, exchange information to nurture that relationship. 7, follow up. 8, add value. 9, make connections. 10, stay in touch. Following these tips will help you be a much better connector and help you be an excellent connector. So stay tuned as we dig into each one of these tips individually and go into them in a much deeper format that can help you take your connecting game to the next level. Thanks for tuning in. If you're looking to generate revenue by being a connector or by getting referrals for your existing business, then check out how Unicorn Universe creates abundance through connections in our community by going to unicornconnector.com. That's unicornconnector.com. Stay tuned, follow us, and hit the subscribe button as we expand on ways to grow your network, generate income from opportunities we avail, interview our partners and connectors, and show you how to become the magical unicorn connector that you are.